I is for Ireland. I don't usually make political statements on my channel. Politics can be so divisive, but isn't it time that the 6 counties of Northern Ireland were reunited with Ireland? G.K. Chesterton once remarked that the tragedy of the English conquest of Ireland in the 17th century is that the Irish can never forget it and the English can never remember it. Hello, my name is Jim. Welcome to my channel about books and reading and stuff. I is for many things, like this itchy iguana. I is for immunity and inoculation. I is for Italian. I is for Irish, of course. I is for iron and ivy, and the Ige combi and the isogriffo, probably 2 cars you've never heard about. I is for inspiration. I is for Istomin, and I is for Istanbul. I is for immunity and inoculation. Have you been vaccinated yet? I haven't. I would like to be vaccinated before the end of the summer. Hopefully there'll be a lot more vaccines available very soon in Georgia. They've had some problems with the system for allocating vaccines. There was a cyber attack on it. There's a few different ones available. I believe in vaccination for many things. Looking around the 19th century graveyard, you'll see a lot of young children there because they didn't have vaccines at the time, or antibiotics and other medical advances. I is for Iago, Othello's Iago. Who is the most sinister villain in your reading? Iago is particularly sinister because he's so trusted by Othello, and he's a very Machiavellian schemer. He's feeling disgruntled because he's been passed over for promotion by Cassio. Othello and Iago rose through the ranks together, but Othello rose higher, and Iago starts scheming to bring down Othello and Cassio. He's very evil, very vindictive, and very clever. Many countries begin with I. India, second most populous country. My sister lives in India, but we don't have a great rapport. Indonesia, Iran, Iraq, Italy. What's the last book you read by an Italian author? The last book I read by an Italian author is this, The Name of the Rose by Umberto Eco. This was an interesting story, and there's a medieval mystery about this monk who goes to a Benedictine monastery where there have been some mysterious deaths, and he tries to find out who's responsible for these mysterious deaths. It's a fascinating book. We also have Israel and Ireland. This is the Penguin Book of Contemporary Irish Poetry. It's a bit battered, it's also been water damaged. Here's a very short poem, like a haiku, about the death of Irish by Aidan Carl Matthews. The tide gone out for good. 31 words for seaweed, whiten on the foreshore. Ireland is almost the same size as Georgia, and like Georgia, the capital, Dublin, doesn't control all the territory of Ireland, like Tbilisi doesn't control all the territory of Georgia. Who is your favourite Irish writer? I know there's a lot to choose from. James Joyce, George Bernard Shaw, Edna O'Brien, Maeve Binchy, Frank McCourt, Roddy Doyle, Seamus Heaney, Sebastian Barry, Iris Murdoch, Kate O'Brien, Oscar Wilde, Tana French, Cecilia Ahern, Maeve Brennan, Lisa McInerney, Brian Moore, so many great writers from Ireland. On Goodreads I have a shelf of 24 titles related to Ireland and Irish writers. I would say my favourite may be Dara O'Brien. If you're from the UK or from Ireland, you probably know Dara O'Brien because he's a comedian. He's a very funny comedian, and Ireland has a lot of very funny comedians. They have this gift of the gab. They're very good at storytellers, whether it's writing it down or just talking about it. The oral tradition goes back a long way. Dara O'Brien, this is Tickling the English. We're touring the circuit of comedy clubs in England. Dara O'Brien makes witty observations of the different cities and about English people in general, and he can speak Irish. I is for ink. Do you have any tattoos? I have one, I'll show you. This is it. It's a symbol of peace. I got this tattoo when I was 40, part of my midlife crisis. It was either get a Harley Davidson motorcycle, have a girlfriend half my age, or get a tattoo. I got the tattoo. It was also at the time of the Gulf War, and I was sick of all the wars everywhere. The design came from a Christmas card, and I got my tattoo made in Sheffield, in England, at Feline Tattoo Studio. I met the tattooist there on a plane flying back from Vienna to England, and we got talking, and when I decided I'd have a tattoo, I went to her studio to get this tattoo done. That's the only tattoo I have, the only tattoo I want. Do you have any tattoos? What are your thoughts? I is for inspiration. What book really inspired you to do something? This book inspired me. It's Blood, Sweat and Tears by Tom Reynolds. Tom Reynolds was an ambulance driver, a paramedic in London, and it was about a blog he started. Being an ambulance driver, each day is different, and also dealing with life and death and things. He sees some very interesting things that most of us never see in our lives. And this inspired me to start my own blog, and from the blog I developed to having this YouTube channel. I is for Istanbul, also known as Byzantium or Constantinople. When I was in my 20s, I decided there were 3 cities I had to visit in my life. 3 cities I had to visit before I died. One of them was Jerusalem, one of them was Rome, and the other one was Istanbul. This is for their historical and cultural significance in Western civilization. I visited Jerusalem in 2007, I visited Istanbul for the first time in 2008, and I visited Rome in 2016, so I was able to tick all 3 off. Is there any city or cities that you really want to visit in your lifetime, and why? And if you're interested in Istanbul, this is a very good book. This is Orhan Pamuk's memoir of Istanbul. This is my favourite book by Orhan Pamuk. I've read a few of his works. The first one I read was Snow, and My Name is Red, and Museum of Innocence, but this is my favourite, his memoir of Istanbul. There's also this one. This is The Bastard of Istanbul by Elif Shafak. Elif Shafak is another Turkish writer, and again this is my favourite book by her. I've read 5 books by her now. The Architect's Apprentice, 40 Rules of Love, The Flea Palace, Honor, and this one. This is about an Armenian American who wants to look at her roots and her roots go back to Istanbul, and she travels to Istanbul and she stays with a Turkish family, and there's a lot of history between Turkey and Armenia. There's the genocide which the Turks have been denying and the Armenians are trying to keep in everybody's mind, and both Elif Shafak and Orhan Pamuk had trouble under Code 301 of the Turkish penal law for mentioning the genocide. In Turkey you're not allowed to mention anything that's un-Turkish, and the Armenian genocide is not something you're allowed to talk about in Turkey openly. Neither Shafak or Pamuk went to prison, but they did go to court and they did have a lot of problems with this. Lots of books begin with I. Invisible Man, Infinite Jest, I, Claudius. What was the last book you read beginning with an I? For me it was In Dark Water. This is a police procedural set in southern Scotland. It just came out this summer. It's a very good book, I really enjoyed it, and it reminded me of how much I enjoy police procedurals. I haven't read many police procedurals for many years before this year, and now I've read two quite recently, In Dark Water and Bone Jar, and I really like this genre, this subgenre of crime fiction. I tag? Who do I tag? Well, I'll tag anybody who uses the pronoun I when talking about themselves. So if that's you, if you talk about yourself as I, then you are tagged. In 2005 I visited the grave of W.B. Yeats, the Irish poet, in Drumcliff Cemetery in County Sligo. I was mostly visiting Northern Ireland at the time, but I did cross the border into Cavan and Sligo and Monaghan, and I would like to see a united Ireland. If you like this tag and like this video, you can subscribe below. I hope my political rantings haven't lost me too many subscribers, but whatever. And I shall wish you farewell.